how Haven did it. Hoard of the Dragon Queen with the Havenettes, chapters, sessions 17 through 21, but more or less the entire chunk of the travel section of chapter 4. Let's just cover this real quick. So, the main part of chapter 4 is the long travel. Following the Hoard, there's nothing going on, or the Hoard of Gold that the cultists are moving. Keep calling them the Hoard. Following the Hoard of Gold that the cultists are moving north. This can be a slog. I can understand that. Reading it even, I was like, this could be boring as fudge. This is grass-growing kind of travel. How do you spice it up? Going back to Sly Flourish's write-up on it, his suggestion was choose one big adventure a week, and then there's easily either out-of-game role-play the stuff that happens outside of it, or make it super quick at the beginning of each session, like what happened at the beginning of it, and then be done with it, and just go right to an encounter. Throw 4 encounters in on the trip up. And that's what I did. I chose out 4 encounters, 1 each week. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but it at least allowed us to get through a month and a week's worth of travel over the course of 5 games, or 4 game sessions, and wrap it up and just be done. And I got them from Boulder's Gate to Water's Deep. Looking over all the suggestions, I really decided that I was going to choose one from that Sly Flourish actually recommended. I chose another one that was just complete out of my head entirely. And then a third one that I found that somebody else had done, and I'm completely blanking on that individual's name, so if I describe this encounter and it's your encounter, by all means, throw a comment below and take credit for it. You deserve it. I totally stole your idea. I'm sorry, I should have written it down, but this was actually like months ago, and I'm unfortunately in the mood lost those notes. So, short version, they follow, they get hired, they get on the caravan, they leave. That was pretty easy, even though there was some role-playing about getting paid better and stuff like that. Move along. The first encounter was doppelgangers. And I've always been impressed with doppelgangers as a monster because they can be like the perfect infiltration unit, right? So, they come across this random 3 people that on the side of the road with a busted wagon. They offer to help bring them along, and then people just start dying left and right. I thought this was a great way for them to have it, and I was willing to let it go until they actually found them. They had to roll well enough to actually catch them doing what they did, which was murdering people in their sleep and then taking over their forms. I let it go. Like, they were rolling every night after the first night that came up, and eventually they finally got high enough to actually catch them in the act. And as funny as it sounds, I want to say it was the barbarian was the one, but the thing is, and if anybody catches me on this, the axe of warning only goes off if you or your party is in danger. The party was never quite targeted yet. I was always targeting NPCs, so if they're not in danger, no axe of warning going off. Anyway, but it still ends up being Nahis who catches them because she just rolled like insanely high on a perception roll during her watch. I gave it, she had to catch it. It was all about timing. That is, roll perception really high during the time that I'd chosen that they were going to be out trying to murder somebody. So it was every encounter, every night, I chose a section of watch that's when that would happen, and that had to roll high in perception. Any other time didn't matter. All those other rolls I made them do were all bullshit. It didn't matter. There's something as a DM's note. If you want to tie in where you make it so that something looks like it's important but it's not, and you're waiting for that one specific roll, throw in other rolls around it, even if they don't mean anything, so that then it does come time for that mate roll to mean something. That's how I play perception, so that not every time they look for something, it's done. We had some excellently high rolls, but it wasn't at the right time, and so like Lutile rolling a 27 perception at some point, he saw grass growing and crickets during his watch, because that's all that was going on. But let your party roll when something's not going on, as well as when there is. It throws them off. Every time I have my party roll for perception, there may or may not be something going on. I know that sounds like a dick move, but that's how I play, so that when I say roll for perception, the party doesn't immediately go, oh my god, there's something here, and we're going to keep digging at it till we find it, because that's really giving it away. My party's going to watch this video, and they're probably going to go, I don't care. That's how I make it so when they're rolling perception rolls every time during watch, you are rolling. How well are you looking around? You could fail it, and nothing could be going on, because nothing is. But that's what it is, right? That's how I disguise the important perception rolls in amongst unimportant perception rolls, so that the party doesn't immediately keep digging when there's ever perception. And they did at the beginning of this. Almost every experienced player, if you say roll perception, will immediately start digging into it. Like, oh, even if I fail this perception roll, I'm going to keep looking because I know there's something going on here. Well, you know what? You're playing my game. There might not be anything. It's just crickets making love in the grass. Okay. There's my DM tip there. Take that for what it is and my little bit of a rant. Now let's move on to the other side of things. Let's see. They eventually caught up with it. They eventually killed the doppelgangers. Doppelgangers are awesome. If you've never played with a doppelganger, I highly recommend it. They're an awesome monster to throw in for spying and catching up on people, especially for NPCs and stuff. And you can easily just have it be that they start acting just a little bit differently and see if the party catches on. I love doppelgangers. Second encounter was the carnival full of monsters. I particularly designed this one purely to go after the two teenage girls in my group. One's my daughter, who plays KU, Christy, and then Fire is played by Ember, who's one of the other kids of Arkin. So Heather's daughter, Heather who plays Arkin's daughter is Fire. There's the family connections. You get it? Good, got it. I particularly drew this one because I was purposely poking at the kids. I wanted to see how they were going to run. So I had abused, captured monsters that had escaped, attacking their keepers. I really was trying to play the adults off the kids. These monsters were owned by these keepers to be in their livelihood. This was their livelihood, was this show of oddity monsters. And it did. The party actually stopped for a good, out of game time. They argued for, actually, I think I even made it in game time, 6 minutes. They were just at each other on whether or not they were going to get in the way or not. Some of the adults were like, let's not get involved at all. One, and I don't remember who, I think it was Wu Tao, so that would actually be Adonis, didn't want, was all for it's their monsters. We should help them capture their monsters back. And eventually the kids were the ones they were abusing these monsters, of course they deserve to be free. And really pushed that element, and that was what eventually tipped them off. Once it was the abused monsters, if the monsters hadn't been abused, I don't think the rest of the party would have gone for it, really. Brutally honest. I had to push that in there. But they were slightly abused. They were kept in cages. So they decided to help the monsters escape, kill off the rest of them. Part of this also comes down to the fact that earlier in the week, a week beforehand, in an earlier game session, Fire had actually come up to me and asked if she could have a pet Displacer Beast. Straight up. I want a pet Displacer Beast. She got the monster book for kids that D&D brought out, which by the way is super cute. If you've got some preteen, middle school age, totally awesome. Buy that book. It's really cute. It's really cool. She saw it in there. She wanted a Displacer Beast. And I kind of went with the rule of cool on this. Is it normal? No. Could it possibly happen? Maybe. But when a kid who's playing your D&D campaign comes up and says, I want a pet, and I want a Displacer Beast, I gave her a Displacer Beast, and that's why she got a kitten Displacer Beast at the end of that. Encounter. Now it's a double-edged sword. She now has to take care of a kitten who doesn't grow at the same rate as a human because they're fey. By the time kitten, when she got it, by the time they reach Water's Deep, it's doubled in size. In 3 weeks. And we're using Baby Monster rules that I got off of DM's Guild. Awesome source. Love the mechanics in that. If you ever want to have a character raise something in your campaign, I totally recommend it. I will put a link down in the doobly-doo for it. I totally recommend it. It's awesome. It's a great, and I'm totally using that, making her roll to actually get the loyalty to go up. She's having to play with it. She's trying to find what foods it likes. At this point, it's usually all meat. But she's been interacting with the Displacer Beast, trying to get it to go. So it's awesome. I love it. Download it. This guy deserves your money. So we'll see how that goes. I really do plan to use it against her sometime. But the kid asked for a Displacer Beast. Why not? Why not? It's D&D. So she has a blaster piece now. Next encounter. This is the undead attack one. It was a trap. Totally a trap. I'm not going to tell you who did it yet. They got to find out. I will say it wasn't the cult. But literally just a trap glyph. The glyph literally was a homing beacon. Totally, think Walking Dead style. This is just a glyph that's making noise, attracting all of the zombies that have been led to this area. Somebody had led a whole shit ton of zombies to this area, and they were just going to keep attacking until that glyph made them stop. That was it. Pure and simple. I wanted a wave. I wanted that lots of minion attacking, easily destroyed, but they just keep coming, that pressing, and then trying to figure out what's causing it. Like, there's no winning until you figure out why they keep coming. And I had it every time that the zombies showed up, a pulse of green light was coming out from underneath that wagon, and eventually they went underneath there. And sure enough, splash, broke that darn thing up. Really, a sword slash breaking that emblem would have done it. Simple fix once they figured out what was causing it. Great encounter, lots of fun. I will say this, running like 30 or 40 zombies all at once. I had them rolling in groups. I literally did. It was like 5 zombies are attacking the east. Roll once. They hit you. They do. I did I modified the skeleton swarm from the monster manual. That's how I skipped that. Unless it was a single zombie. But for the most part, I also had him killing him in one hit. Minion rolls. It was a lot of fun, though. A lot of fun. They took a lot of damage, though, because, I'm sorry, even quarter CR monsters with 5 of them on somebody, and they just are wailing on you. Take some damage. Okay, so that was the third encounter. The fourth encounter, the one at Daggerfall. This is another one where I decided to shove some backstory into it, with finding out about Callie's long-lost, unknown half-brother. Now, this is another DM note. Players, give your DM backstory, or he makes things up, like long-lost half-brothers with magical swords. I have a question. I gave you guys a whole bunch of information in the campaign diary part. We have a bone devil interrogating halfling, telling him he needs to live up to his promise, being tortured by a hag in his brain. If you didn't figure that out, by the way, that's what was happening in that. The hag was not in the mortal plane and was in his dreams, torturing him. It was awesome! And then she popped out. Which is why she couldn't go back to it, because she only do it once per day. Pop into the middle realm, another realm. Anyway, so, Bone Devil, interrogating, telling me he has to, and trying to get him to go back to do his promise. Who's Timothy? What's Timothy's class? And, what do you think's going on there? I want to know if you figured it out. By all means, make a comment down below if you figured out what Timothy is, or who Timothy is, other than Callie's half-brother. And the sword, by the way, it's a dancing sword. So, and of course, KU, knowing that her family comes from very odd parts, the code word to activate said flying sword is hillbilly. That's my kid. So, that was a fun little encounter. I totally wanted something to happen at Daggerfall in that city that had, I'd chosen that city to try and pick that out. I've been trying to purposely make sure everybody's characters get a chance to have their backstory intertwined. I've even told some of the characters when this will happen. Nahis is the current one we haven't really touched on at all, but I've told her that she has an arc coming up that is purposely entirely based around her backstory. We've come across Remy's. Arkin is the other one yet that I'm having trouble tying in. Not that she needs to give me a good backstory. I'm just having trouble connecting it into this. I think I know where it's going to happen. It'll probably end up happening in the next half. So, if you know this, the Tyranny of Dragons is the overall campaign. I don't know where I'm going. Hoard of the Dragon Queen is this little piece, and then the Rise of Tiamat is the second half. And I want to say both the Orc background and Arkin's background will be able to play well in that. Is where I'm going to probably shove it in there in the Tyranny of Dragons. Let's see. Then they came across the whole Thay wizard bit, and that is another part that had to be shoved in. I found it very... Looking back, I probably would have put it earlier. I would have had them join the train much earlier. It seemed really forced at the end, at Daggerfall. And maybe that's the way I read it, was that it was supposed to happen in Daggerfall, or maybe it's just laid out kind of crappy. If I were you, I'd put it much earlier in the campaign. I'd put it like maybe halfway through, so you can play around with the way that they interact with the cult more. That's just me. That's how I did it. Either way, then they got shown that they were being poisoned, or that the cult is actually trying to stop them. At least at this point, what I think they didn't realize is part of the reason I did the poisoning at that point, I had planned that there, is because the party had kept being adventurers through all this. And that's when every time they did something heroic that got them praise from the wagon leader and from the caravan leader, I kept adding or lowering the DC difficulty of the cultists recognizing them. I started off at like a 20. They had gotten disguises, they were just average people. And then every time they did something that got them some renown in it, I lowered it by like 3 or 4 points, depending on how much and how brazen they were about it. And by the end of it, love my guys, love my party. Players, you guys are pretty freaking brazen about it for somebody being in hiding. So sure enough, I had eventually it got down to the point where they had to roll higher than like a 7. And by that last portion, specifically after they came back from trying to help Timothy, the cult had found him. The cult, everybody, all the cult had recognized him as the hero of the Green Nest, and that's when they poisoned him. That's what I had planned. As soon as they made that roll, they were going to try and poison him. If it had happened earlier in the campaign, it would have been multiple weeks, maybe even a couple more encounters of the cult trying to, at the end of every encounter, the cult trying to poison them. There was a moment where the cult did try and trash their horses, had horses charged through them. That happened too. I forgot about that part. So yeah, they did try a couple of times, but it wasn't until towards the end when they finally made that roll, which may have been actually the 3rd run. But you get the idea, guys. Now they're at Water's Deep. Water's Deep, they've followed all the way to a wagon, and we're going to have some more backstory, actually, since it doesn't actually say exactly how long it needs to stay in Water's Deep. And this is where I will say this much in the precursor to the next How Haven Did It video. This is where Haven starts making some serious changes to the way the story is being written. I realized when I got into this that this was a major amount of travel in this, but after doing a whole bunch of travel challenges and travel kind of encounters, I wanted something different. So specifically wagon travel, caravan travel, and the fact that the next section was another chunk of wagon travel from Water's Deep to the guardhouse, I've blown that all out. So if you want to see how I've changed this so that entire travel disappears, keep watching. Because the party actually got kind of weird now in Water's Deep. It's been kind of interesting. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Haven the Hare. If you want to talk more about what I'm doing and any questions about this video or any other of the videos I've done, make a comment down below, send me an email, find me on any amounts of the social media. I'm more than happy to talk about D&D. I love talking about this and being a DM. So let's see what happens next with the rest of the Wandering Few. That's my other campaign. So hey, I just put up another video for the Wandering Few actually too, which is the other campaign I'm running. This is entirely homebrewed. I will never monetize this channel, so if you would like to support me, please join my Patreon, or you can order my card game, 5-Minute Sword Fight, link down below. Or you can order a chainmail dice pouch from me, also link down below. And you can, I'd be more than happy to make it for you, multiple colors, multiple patterns, and that's how you can help support me doing this kind of fun stuff. Yeah, that's about it. I've been Haven the Hare. May you make all of life saving throws. But, I've been Haven. So thank you for watching. Again, I have been Haven the Hare. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I love talking about this stuff and how I've been running these games. By all means, make a comment down below, shoot me an email, send me a message, send me a smoke signal. I don't care. I'll message back. I love talking about D&D. If you want to find me, by all means, I repeated that, didn't I?